Whether you want to think of it as DLC or as a standalone game, Torna the Golden Country captures some of the best parts of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in a smaller, but still content-packed form. Its prequel story to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 sells well as both something that gives more insight into the world and history of it, but also has its own complete story, featuring new characters alongside ones that had development that helped me properly understand them. Beyond that, Torna the Golden Country also boasts the great quests and blade development systems that made the original game so addictive, and the way some of these quests tie into the story and character development made doing them feel very rewarding, and the world richer for it. As an expansion on an already great world, Torna the Golden Country feels like more than just DLC with its 20-hour story campaign, and with plenty left to do after, it's the perfect addition to enrich Xenoblade Chronicles 2's world while standing more than well enough on its own. Torna the Golden Country is set 500 years in the past of Xenoblade Chronicles 2's story in the same world of Allrust, but one that is different enough thanks to the time difference. Instead of following the story of Rex and Pyra, we're greeted with new protagonists in the form of Laura, a driver and mercenary, and her blade Jin, who many may recognize from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Despite having many characters we know from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, such as Mithra, Torna the Golden Country elaborates on the story of the Aegis War, an event mentioned in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 that involved Torna being protected from Malice, an antagonist from the original game, but this time explored much more deeply to show the effects this event had on the characters and world in both the DLC and main game. The story DLC is about 20 hours long and tells its story well through a mix of main story events like in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and also in its side quests. The first portion of the story plays out much like in the original game by using main quests, with the story itself adding a bunch of history and lore to the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 world, while also giving insight into characters we don't know so well such as Laura and Adam, along with a deeper look into other characters that play a darker or different kind of character in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. The second part of Torna's story plays out a little differently by requiring the use of side quests to continue, which tell the story through smaller bits of character development in each quest, developing the main cast and also the world and people living in Torna. The mix of bigger plot development coupled with smaller quest-based ones in the second half is something I'd usually think would slow down pacing and momentum, but instead helped to create a connection to the characters and world of Torna that made its ending much more impactful. And while it's a different way of storytelling to what Xenoblade Chronicles 2 had me prepared for, it really created that feeling of connection by the end of it. Aside from the main story ones, the smaller quests in Torna the Golden Country all link to the new community system, a system that gives you a rank based on how many people you help through quests in its city. The ranking is mostly for fun, although unlike the optional nature of quests in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you'll need to rank up a few times for some of the main story quests to be able to continue. I found this interesting as it strays a little from the feeling of freedom in the original game, but as I said, these end up giving an amount of character development that helps the story be more impactful, so I can understand why the quests are like this, but I'm sure at first glance this might be hit or miss for people who like to save quests until the end. I usually prefer my quests to be optional, but I think this DLC managed to have a decent amount that let me get to know its characters well, and stopped short of making me feel sick of doing them, and thanks to the amusing character development featured in the quest stories, it still had the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 effect of making me want to go back and play with more of them after completing the main story, which is what I like about the original game. As for the story content itself, I was impressed with how this DLC flipped my perspective on certain characters such as Mithra and Jin, who I didn't really care for that much in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but was able to understand and genuinely like much more through the quests and scenes of Torna the Golden Country. I also like how the story explored this important chapter of Xenoblade Chronicles 2's history in much more detail. It shows enough to give insight needed into the Aegis War that makes some things in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 make much more sense, but since it's also so far back in Allrust past, it seems like it could be accessible to newcomers to the world who want to try Torna the Golden Country to see if this style of storytelling and gameplay is for them. Since I haven't played the full story of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in a while, I'm not sure if it's totally spoiler-free, but if you don't mind hearing about story lore before you play the full game, Torna the Golden Country is fine to play by itself in my opinion, and for those who have already played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, it only enriches the world more. Many of the core mechanics of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 are present and at their best in Torna the Golden Country, on top of some interesting new ones. items. There are new blade affinity charts that have me tempted to complete them, many quests to find both in and out of the story, secret areas hidden on its map waiting to be found, and an updated version of its recipe-based crafting mechanics. Crafting is done at camps where you can also chat to get even more insight into the personalities of your party members, somewhat like heart-to-hearts from the original game, along with leveling up like you would do at inns. The crafting mechanic resembles the cooking one from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but with more item creation options. You can have some characters cook, but other characters like Laura can make charms, amongst other items shown in its cute icons, with all the crafting methods matching each character's personality. These serve mostly as beneficial pouch items for characters, but there are also a few items that could unlock new collection points as well. So if you get caught up in the item collection and completionist aspects of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 like I do, you may find yourself spending a lot of time finding these recipes. A lot of these recipes are found in the community events that tie the new mechanics together well, with fun moments like doing a quest involving collecting fish and then having one of my characters come up with a fish-related recipe being a nice little touch to enjoy while exploring the new and updated places in this world. Along with adding new mechanics and areas, Torna the Golden Country also takes the time to update and refine its core ones. If you enjoyed Xenoblade Chronicles 2's combat system, the streamlined version of blade combos and being able to control blades upfront act as small but good additions to clean up combat and make it more enjoyable. Rather than the UI showing your combo options in the top right corner, it instead lets you figure out your options by using the attack names when choosing an element, which makes things a little simpler to keep track of all at once. On top of that, being able to switch from blade to driver swiftly adds a welcome new piece of strategy into the mix considering the auto-attacking nature of the system. Being able to switch who's on the front line meant keeping an eye on HP more to get the most out of each character while also trying to keep everyone alive, along with making finding the right person for an elemental attack feel very involved. With these small but impactful changes, the combat is easy to pick up if you've already played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and with quick tutorials that get you into the fully developed combat system much quicker than in the original game, it's also more accessible in general in this entry. Since it has a mix of original mechanics and new ones, Torna the Golden Country's playtime features the same insane amount of replayability that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 does, and I'm sure I'll be playing it well beyond its original 20 hours since I want to get to know its enjoyable cast of characters as much as possible. There are at least 50 side quests you can do for the community mechanic, and while you can do a majority of these as part of the main story, I still haven't found everyone I can make join my community circle yet. On top of all these quests, I'm sure I have more unique monsters and secret areas to find, charts to complete, and recipes to collect, with these making me think Torna the Golden Country really captured the essence of its source material, as I have that same feeling of wanting to go back and do everything. And with beautiful visuals in its cutscenes, great music old and new, and an activity-filled world to explore, as DLC, Torna the Golden Country is about as generous and as high quality as it gets, and I think will be satisfying to fans old and new in this content-rich experience. For those like me who enjoyed Xenoblade Chronicles 2 for both its story and extra activities, Torna the Golden Country is a real treat. It did a great job in telling this story that shaped Xenoblade Chronicles 2 through its scenes and quests that make the experience one I felt emotionally invested in by the end of it, thanks to the character development they feature. And I'm pleased to say I'm just as addicted to Torna the Golden Country as I was to the original Xenoblade Chronicles 2 game. I've ordered a physical copy of the DLC in Japanese so I can use language study as an excuse to play more, and I'm so ready to dive into the deeper, more time-consuming parts of blade development, finding crafting recipes, and getting to know its characters even more now that they've grown on me in this experience. In short, Torna the Golden Country is a great example of how good content-rich DLC expansions can be, and I'm sure I'll be playing in its fun world of things to do and characters to get to know even more very, very soon. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on trying Torna the Golden Country, and if you already have, what do you think of it? You can like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content like this, and ring that bell to get notifications on whenever I post so you don't miss a thing. You can check out more videos here, or you can check out the blog at jrpgjungle.com where I do everything I do here, but in written form, and you can find me on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at jrpgjungle. Links to those will be in the description below, along with links to where you can pick out this DLC. Until next time, thank you, bye!